one thing I could never stand was to see a filthy, dirty old drunkard howling away at the filthy songs of his fathers.
Before Alex and his droogs ever touch the old drunk, Stanley Kubrick has already told us exactly who they are. Through a carefully constructed combination of camera movement, blocking, lighting, and performance, Kubrick transforms a simple act of violence into one of the most unforgettable scenes in cinema. John Alcott is credited as lighting cameraman for the film, while Kubrick is given an additional photography credit. Kubrick often operated the camera himself, especially for handheld shots, and, as was typical for the director, he retained absolute control of the visuals. Due to Kubrick's dissatisfaction with the pan and scan technique applied to his previous film 2001: A Space Odyssey for television broadcasts, which had an aspect ratio of 2.20:1, he shot A Clockwork Orange in a 1.66:1 aspect ratio. The opening shot of the scene is a slow zoom out from the tramp's bottles to an eventual reveal of the foreboding shadows of Alex and his droogs. This slow zoom was achieved using an ingenue 12 to 240mm zoom lens, originally made for 16mm film cameras, that was adapted to the 35mm format with a 1.6x optical extender. You might be wondering why Kubrick would go through all the trouble of adapting a 16mm format zoom lens instead of just using a readily compatible 35mm zoom lens. This is because the longest zoom ratio available for 35mm format zoom lenses at the time was only 10:1. The 16mm ingenue lens, used in the final film, had a 20:1 zoom ratio, which allowed for much longer and more dramatic zooms. Here's what the shot might have looked like if Kubrick had used a 10:1 zoom instead. The next shot in the scene is an ultra-wide perspective of the droogs and their massive shadows approaching the beggar, achieved using the incredibly wide canoptic 9.8mm lens. The shot is gorgeously backlit by what is supposed to be a street lamp. This method of lighting really sets the tone for the scene. The giant shadows, the silhouette of Alex's gang, and the light catching their breath in the cold air all contribute to the ominous tone. There seems to be an atmospheric haze catching the light as well, although I don't know if a fog machine was used on the set or not. The rest of the scene is made up of wide but not ultra-wide shots of the cast, who are still mostly silhouetted, along with a medium shot of the tramp and an extreme close-up of Alex's face, both of which introduce more light and detail. Another thing I noticed while watching this scene is that the medium shot of the beggar and the close-up of Alex are both composed along a diagonal, running from the top left corner of the frame to the bottom right. Overall, the cinematography in this scene is precisely composed, visually stunning, and fittingly dark and moody. But great cinematography is only part of what makes this scene so effective. Equally as important is the way Kubrick stages the actors within the frame. Kubrick uses simple but effective blocking of the actors in this scene. We are slowly familiarized with the spatial layout and positions of the characters in the opening zoom shot. The gang then walk to their positions and mockingly applaud the old drunk's singing. You can tell that something bad is about to happen just from the way Kubrick places the gang relative to the tramp. The positions change again when Alex steps forward and jams his cane against the beggar's stomach. Notice how, when Alex moves forward, Dim takes a step back to the right. This ensures that the audience can see every character clearly. The way that Kubrick blocked the actors for this scene has resulted in one of the more memorable and iconic images from the film. Just one glancing look at this image and you know what film it is. They even used this scene on the cover of the 4K Blu-ray. Another element that really makes the scene memorable is the location. The underpass where this was filmed has an interesting shape, and it helps to convey the near-future setting of the film. This scene was filmed at a real underpass, not a set, and you can visit the location in London at the Wandsworth Roundabout. Although there are some pretty stylistic editing choices made throughout the film, Bill Butler cut this particular scene together in a pretty straightforward way. The only stylistic standout is the voiceover used at the beginning of the scene. Otherwise, we cut on action, like in this moment where we cut on Alex tucking his cane under his arm, or here where we cut on him swinging his cane at the old drunk. And we cut to whoever is speaking when they are speaking. The 2-minute sequence is made up of only 6 shots, so there isn't really a whole lot of editing to be done. The editing in this scene is simple yet effective. It doesn't distract us from what is going on in the film, and it keeps us immersed. But even perfectly edited images would mean very little without compelling performances. The performances in this scene, as well as in most of the film, are very dramatic. Kubrick famously favored an interesting performance over a realistic one, a fact that is made evident in this film. The voiceover at the start of the scene does a good job of putting us inside Alex's head.
And going blurp blurp in between, as it might be a filthy old orchestra and his stinking rotten guts.
The droogs all laugh and howl at everything the old drunk says like a pack of hyenas. Malcolm McDowell as Alex stares at the old drunk with great intensity. Paul Farrell as the tramp delivers his monologue with conviction and drama. It's all quite stylized, but also very captivating. The performances draw you in and make it hard to stop watching. Of course, Kubrick wasn't working from a blank page. Kubrick's version of this scene is quite faithful to what Anthony Burgess had written in the book. Alex's voiceover at the start of the scene is practically taken straight from the book, with a few minor changes made, such as replacing some of the fictional NADSAT slang words with plain English. Vesh becomes thing, starry becomes old, etc. The song that the old drunk sings in the book is, as far as I can tell, not a real song, but rather a collection of lyrics made up by Burgess. These lyrics include, "And I will go back to my darling, when you, my darling, are gone," and "O dear, dear land, I fought for thee, and brought thee peace and victory." That second lyric is actually briefly sung in the film, but it is cut off when Alex and his droogs start beating the old drunk. The main song that the old drunk sings is a traditional Irish song called Molly Malone. Paul Farrell, the actor who played the tramp, was actually Irish. So, in a way, he was literally singing the songs of his fathers. The spoken dialogue in the scene is also very faithful to the book. The tramp's monologue is very close to what is written in the book, and Alex's one line is nearly verbatim. The only line Kubrick added is the tramp asking for cutter, or money, at the start. In the book, Alex and his droogs simply walk right up to the old man and start beating him while he's singing. Despite these minor changes, the resulting film adaptation captures the spirit of the original remarkably well. Overall, this scene demonstrates Kubrick's mastery over nearly every aspect of filmmaking, from the technical to the dramatic, and will be remembered for years to come. If you enjoyed watching, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. If there are any other scenes or films you would like to see me cover, please leave your suggestions in the comments. Thanks for watching.